Greetings, I'm Michael O'Connor, and thanks for joining me at the Well. My topic on this edition of At the Well is about baptism. To help us understand this topic, I would like to play a short video from Bishop Robert Barron. He'll explain the role that we all play in the sacrament of baptism. Our role is not a passive one.
There's something objective about baptism. Through these gestures and these words, something happens. That's the theology of the church. We're not just celebrating a grace already present. We're not just coming together as a community to welcome this new baby. We're not just gathering to wish the baby well. I mean, those are all good things. But the sacrament of baptism is something objective. The classic definition, a sacrament's a visible sign of an invisible grace. In this sacrament, through this sacrament, a child or an adult becomes a member of the mystical body, is now adopted, becomes a cell, a molecule, an organ in the mystical body of Christ. Something objective happens. If it's just a celebration of an already existing grace, or it's just the welcome of the community, well, then I'd paraphrase Flannery O'Connor and say, well, then the heck with it, So the case of fatherhood, I told the folks gathered there, is a good way of reminding ourselves of this objective density to baptism and to all the sacraments. But then, having said that, and not for a minute unsaying it, I said there's also a subjective side, and here's what I meant. I did it through appeal to an old story, because there were a lot of little people there, a lot of little kids. So I wanted to draw them in. And I told that familiar story of the egg that rolls out of the nest of an eagle. And it falls to the ground, but it rolls among a group of chickens. And so the eagle is hatched, but he doesn't know his eagle parents, his eagle siblings. All he knows is the world of chickens. These little birds, pecking around the ground and never flying and living in a very, narrow range. And so the eagle, who's born to fly and to soar and to cover hundreds of miles, grows up pecking the ground and never flying. Well, then I continued, according to the story, one day a great eagle flies past and looks down and sees amidst these chickens this eagle. And he comes to the ground and he says to him, "What is the matter with you? Why are you pecking around the ground like a chicken? You're an eagle." And the eagle is, "Well, I don't know. I've never seen this. I never realized my own capacities." And so then the adult eagle draws him into that world and teaches him how to spread his wings and how to fly. So I told the folks gathered there, this little baby, objectively, through this sacrament, receives the grace of adoption and becomes a member of the mystical body. Something happens, that's true. But now, the task of the community gathered around this child is to remind her in every way who she is. See, my complaint, I told them, is that an awful lot of baptized people in our country, around the world, are in fact children of God. They are in fact destined to be great saints. They are in fact destined to soar. But the problem is they spend their whole lives pecking around the ground like chickens. What I mean here is they imitate not the great saints. They imitate, whatever the popular culture is throwing up at the moment. They seek wealth and power and pleasure and all the little petty goods of the world. And, that might make you great in the eyes of the world. That's like being a great chicken when you're meant to be an eagle. See, so I told them, look, that's your job now. That's your job, is to remind this little girl throughout her life who she is. And she's meant to be a great saint and not a pathetic simulacrum of what she's supposed to become. So that's how I read together the objective side and, if you want, the subjective side of baptism. And I'll close with this. As I mentioned, still, I think it's true that most people in our country are baptized Christians. Most people are objectively sons and daughters of God, meant to be great saints. The trouble is, most of us are pecking around the ground like chickens. If every baptized person in this country realized who he or she is meant to be, that'd be the true American Revolution.
I now have a better understanding of why it is good to baptize an infant, because during the sacrament, we become a member of the mystical body, a visible sign of an invisible grace. And we become surrounded by those whose job it is to make us soar as eagles in our faith. It's a great way to begin our life.